I began thinking of organizations in terms of having hearths or kitchen tables. First, when I was doing the study of Dorothy Brunson in The Female Advantage, because she's the one who had a glass office. And she had in that office, so that everybody could see her in the organization. And in that office, she had a big, slightly messy, it looked like a kitchen table in her office. In addition to her, she had two big desks because she had two different jobs, so she liked to sit at a different desk depending on which job she was doing. But she had this big table, and it had comfortable chairs around it, the kind of chairs you'd find in somebody's house, not office chairs. There was a little refrigerator next to it. And she said, when I first started going into her organization, she said, this is where people in the organization hang out. And I was kind of surprised. I thought, well, that's interesting. They hang out in her office. But in fact, it turned out that they did. And I looked at it, you know, she had these radio stations, as I said. It was mostly, people in radio tend to be very, very young. And so she was a really matriarchal figure. And there was something so interesting about people coming in for these sort of kitchen table discussions, which is how the meetings were held. Then with Nancy Bedore, who was at Ford, she had said to me that the one big battle she had really lost with Ford was over the allocation of office space in her division. She was downtown in Detroit. She wasn't in the Dearborn headquarters. But as Nancy said, in Ford, with office space, it's from Versailles to the pigsty. That the senior executives have enormous offices with carpets that thick and bathrooms, suites, and exercise equipment in their office, and the whole, you know, an exercise room, and that other people are crowded up into tiny little cubicles where they can barely get their work done because they've got other people on top of them. She said, this is the one thing they wouldn't let me change. They insisted, she had this huge, gigantic office, and she said, they absolutely insisted that I have the office this size and that everybody else have these dinky cubicles, because if I changed, then other people in the company would see and say, so why does my executive have, you know, hogging 3/4 of the space? She said, so the way I got around it, she said, is I set up a kind of central room that had fruit and water and healthy snacks and lots of tables where people in the organization could just come, and if they wanted to have an informal meeting, if they felt their cubicle was too loud, there was always a place that people could go and kind of hang out. And what impressed me with both of these things was that it was a very home-like touch in an organization or an institution. And so that got me in the book, The Web of Inclusion, really thinking about how organizations allocate space, how the kinds of spaces they provide for people, and what kind of message that sends, and how that fosters a web, how that fosters inclusion, or how it doesn't. It's certainly not just a female thing, because Intel, like a lot of companies in California, is fabulous at this kind of stuff. I mean, the companies I've been to over the years, whether it's Intel or Sun, they have offices that really encourage innovation. They'll have ping pong rooms, they have bike paths, they have outdoor eating spaces. They really bring in a lot of kind of home-like touches into the organizations. In the Web of Inclusion, one of the organizations that I was studying was Miami Herald, which had fantastic leadership and was really evolving into a much more web-like organization, but it had an extremely traditional, very hierarchical building, and I saw the extent to which the physical structure was, to some degree, undermining the message that the then publisher, Dave Lawrence, was trying to put into place.